Hello, welcome, as per usual. I am your host, Casimir Basilius, Imperial Lord, and this is World Building Wednesday, sort of. We're going to ramble, of course. Anyway, well, it's been a while, so I'm relying on my conscripts, remembering how things work. However, my conscripts, well, we have different conscripts here. I did bring back the mech and a different lieutenant. I mean, it's not like you'd know the difference. Same armor, of course. Imperial template armor and all that. Anyway, yes. So, we'll see if things work. But where to even begin? Well, it's almost a new year. Isn't that exciting? A new year. Almost. As you can see, it is 19/11/7895. So in about a month or so, it will be a new year. Yes. 7896. Yeah. I'm sure there will probably be celebrations throughout the galaxy. As you know, we Imperials don't really partake in that celebration. Well, some do, of course, but we don't originally use your calendar. Well, I say your calendar. For our extra dimensional viewers, very much we don't use your calendar. For our galactic viewers of Galaxy 1, we sort of use your calendar, being the one you see here. In our home realm, of course, we have our own calendar. Anyway, so this is, of course, somewhat World Building Wednesday, but we're primarily going to ramble. I do have my coffee. It is early coffee, but, you know, coffee's coffee. So, let's see. Well, business has been busy, conquering worlds, taking territory, seizing lands, dealing with bureaucracy, that sort of thing. I, of course, oh, here's an update of news. I did call my forces back from the Dyson Swarm. For those of you who remember the very beginnings, the very, very beginnings, we assaulted a Dyson swarm. It we seized colony stations. I wouldn't say that we took the whole Dyson swarm. I would say we didn't know that it was a Dyson swarm. And, well, long story short, we took a few stations, but due to our recent war effort, we have recalled our forces because we're fighting a war elsewhere. As you may be aware from brief, well, my absence, of course, has been due to fighting this war elsewhere and other bureaucracy and all that. Bureaucracy, conquest, all that. Anyway, so what is of note, I suppose, is well, yeah, we pulled back our forces. Lots, lots has happened with the adventurer Juliana Aldous. In fact, I don't entirely know what she's doing. I have not had time to check up on what Juliana Aldous has been doing. But given the amount of time that passed, I'm sure it's interesting. So, if we get back to solo Sunday, Friday, someday, solo day, the day in which the dice roll, the rolling dice day, whatever day that may be, who knows? I just like rhyming days. I mean, if you've paid attention, we have had solo Sunday on what, well, what you extra dimensional viewers would call Friday, even though Worldbuilding Wednesday has usually been on what you extra dimensional viewers would call Wednesday, even though Friday, technically, by our standards, well, as you can see, the calendar in both corners of the screen, our time does not work like your time. Indeed. Welcome, welcome. Yes, I'm just rambling about how we have time differences, given that our galactic calendar's different than your extra dimensional calendars. So I'm totally not wrong when I say world building, well, solo Sunday on Friday. Totally not wrong, no. Yes. I happen to have plugged in a new, new audio thing. So, because, well, our broadcaster has not been maintained because, well, it's been a while. I've had the conscript doing other stuff, and now we have new conscript. Anyway, the broadcasting device has not been maintained, and we happen to be using a new audio device sent in by somebody out there in the galaxy. Yes. Yes. And it works quite well. Well, given the fact that the other one literally just disconnects all the time for no reason. But yes, we are using one sent in by one of our galactic viewers. Indeed. Yes. So, yeah. Um, we will figure out at some point what Juliana Aldous has been up to and what adventures she's on right now. Well, right now, time wise, not right now wise, even though we could, theoretically. We need only press a button on the broadcasting device. Hey, you there, Beck, step out of frame. Out, out of frame. No blocking things, Mech. There we go. The Mech was standing in frame there. Lieutenant, you can stay. Yes. Mech's big after all. Anyway, So, yeah, we need only theoretically press a few buttons on this device, if we can even remember what buttons there are, to bring up Juliana Aldous. The hard part is remembering which which buttons those those are. That's the problem with working with ultra advanced tech. Anyway, so yeah, it's World Building Wednesday, sort of. I suppose the question is what to build world wise, isn't it? That is the question. Well, I suppose we'll do the usual thing, the safe thing. Ramble. Ramble about things. That is what we do. It is what we know how to do. Ramble. Just double checking to making sure everything works. Like I said, maintenance has not been done. Yeah. So, what's some things that have been done recently? Oh, nation rules. We were working on simplified nation rules. We're not getting rid of the complex nation rules. We would never get rid of complex rules. I like complex rules. For those of you who don't know, given the fact that once a player said, I want to invest in the space stock market. And then I was like, I'm going to spend a week nonstop writing space stock market rules. We like our complex rules here. But for, you know, for making rolls to determine what's going on in an entire galaxy and for the sanity of players, we have developed simplified nation rules and simplified character creation rules so I can, well, I mean, okay, there's two ways to put it. We've also made simplified character generation rules. The nice way to put it is for quick character generation for one-shots. The brutal way to put it is so I can kill players' characters in one-shots and they can roll up new ones real quickly. Yes. But, I mean, it's not like I go out of my way to commit murder of player characters. It's just, I mean, if you've seen our solo TTRPG, you know that the game can be brutal, absolutely brutal. And one shots, for something that's a one shot, does it what it doesn't necessarily do to make a character that takes at minimum an hour to an hour and a half to make, you know? So quick character generation. Also useful for NPCs. Although, to be fair, I don't really I don't need quick character generation for me. It's not a boast or anything. The rules are just overly complex and such. Quick character I don't need quick character generation because I've been doing this for so long that I can make a character in 5 to 10 minutes using the complex rules. But like I said, that's not boasting. Or I genuinely the rules are overly complex unless you know what you're doing and being the one who wrote the rules. It's like going, it's like going, oh yes, I made this complex game with all these different options and everything. Yeah, like you don't expect players to just know all the intricacies of a game. It takes time and effort and work to figure it all out, you know? But when you're the one who wrote the systems, it's different. Although it does mean with the simplified rules, I can make a character in a minute, which is, faster than 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah. Although, to be fair, I'm not fully used to the new system. Anyway, yeah, I say new system. Everything still works the same. It's just a simplified generator. Yeah. So, what else? What else? What else? Starship design. Oh, I've been still dealing with the same issue as always in regards to maps. Well, okay, I say that thinks about the fact that there's so many issues with maps and map making. Um, the one I'm talking about, because there are a lot, is borders and markers. So when making a map, one needs borders and markers. Like, how do you indicate that there's a road, or a highway? Now, we have markers. We have markers. Like, we're prepared for this. I'm I'm a professional, sort of, maybe. Definitely, totally a professional, yes. Here we are. This I shouldn't be rusty with. I do this all the time. So let's bring up on our display. Well, bringing up on the display isn't something I do all the time. Yeah, look at that. A bridge. Wow, a bridge. What else? Whoa, a road. There, see? Like, we have bridges and roads and trails and highways and airways. And, we also have FTL lanes, you know, FTL lanes. So you have all of this in, well, 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 FTL lanes are different. They're drawn on the map, to be fair. These are marked. Oh, I mean, I say drawn on the map. Saw roads, sort of like this. This is this is dumb. um, how do I? Okay. Do we have any good maps available? World map? No. City? City? Eh, no. Overview. We're looking for an overview map. Um. Ba, 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 overview. This should do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not a complete map, but it works. It works for our example. As you can see, so we have roads. So we can display roads that way. And theoretically, it's so far out of date. Like I said, maintenance hasn't been done, but we have a bunch of like road types that we can display on this map, like highways and roadways and all that. Subways. But but on an overworld map or on a less detailed, well, highways and roadways work on this scale, but this scale is not as zoomed out as one expects. I mean, it's very zoomed out. I mean, this is like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers. Although I believe we do a version of this type of map that is like 10 by 10 kilometers. Anyway, we have different map scales we use. So we've probably been over all this before, many times, but it's been a while. Um, so noting those on a big 10-kilometer map, fine, fine. But if we swap over to X world map, maybe? Yeah, 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 this is it. Okay, so theoretically there are 4 of these. I know I know there are 2 visible, but there are 4 tiers. The tiers of these are as per traveler, like single, local, terrain, and world, or something like that. Going every every square being like 1 kilometer. Well, on the lowest scale, it goes lower than 1 kilometer, but bear with me. I'm just doing a brief explanation, not an in-depth one. Um, like 100 meters, then 1 kilometer, 10 kilometers, 100 kilometers, and 1,000 kilometers are like the scales. So using the little roads doesn't really work that way on that scale. Also, so, like, just okay. I'm being very, very roundabout for no reason. The problem I face is this, in simple terms. Let's go back here. Okay, here we go. Grab this, select that, why not? Select this to that. Okay, let's say we're in space, or even on the ground. We can make a border. That's a nation, okay? Now, let's say we had multiple nations touching, just for the sake of it. Doesn't matter. I mean, it matters for our example, but let's say we have 3 nations touching. Okay, so we could, I mean, this is an option. All use one color for borders. That means if we used one color for borders, I mean, either way, we'd probably have to label these nations. A, doesn't matter. B, C. We could just label them. I mean, that is a solution. All one color, label them one border color. Or we could do different colors and still label them. It's a bit more easy to read and pleasing because, hear me out, you would have to label more if there's a enclave or exclave like so. Or let's say the same nation, nation A, has territory over here. We would, I suppose, have to go like so. Like that is an option. So C has a little bit there, B's there, A's there and there. That is an option, all with the same color. With different colors, you could just use the colors. You still probably have to label it. So, I mean, there's no reason necessarily not to use one color. Normal maps do that. Anyway, problem B is this. Let's hope it's visible. It's not. So, bear with me. We have a limited, well, sort of amount of colors in a sense. So, colors wise, you would have to assign a lot of different colors, like road, highway. You need some way to denote them. Road, highway, air path, trail, etc., etc. We need some way to denote them. Now, then we get to problem C. I wouldn't want to use yellow. Well, I suppose on that other map in which this actually matters, that wouldn't matter, really, would it? Well, it matters on space because space uses yellow. By that I mean, like, as you can see, the grid squares here are yellow. So I wouldn't want to use yellow as a denoting barrier on a map like this because it might get confusing because the grid squares are yellow. Now, that doesn't matter in a map in which, like those overview maps, because there's not really a yellow grid on them. So it's less important. But anywhere in which there's like a yellow grid, we've just lost the use of the color yellow to mark things because it could get confusing with the grid. The same goes for white on space maps because on space maps, let's see if I have one available. Probably. Blank sector. Here we are. It would be unpleasant to view on the white grid. So that removes those two colors from our options, etc., etc. So these are just things that need solutions when making maps. Now, also, a map's going to get cluttered when doing all these lines and marks and so forth. So the way to get around that theoretically is to export the image and then draw the thing on its exterior image, then import that image with a transparent background, but then you have to deal with layers. There's just working with the tools we have, it is a constant problem that we face. Yes. That's basically, yeah, that's basically my explanation of that. Let's see. I think, what else is there? Well, starships. We've been working on some other rule systems. Gotta make more items. That's always a goal. More items is always better. Now, where, there we are. Back to here. Yes. More items is always better. Our goal is to, of course, stat more things. Um, a lot of work spent on that. Of course, fighting a war, which we're succeeding at, hopefully. We will have combat recaps of that at some point, which is going to be neat, if I can ever get that to work. And other such things. Yeah, as we ramble our way through the galaxy. At some point, we might have some more news. Like I said, I've been busy. Um, let's see. Where is it? Um, huh. Just contemplating what to ramble about. Let's see. Well, the well, it's mostly been well. When we get back into things, we'll be seeing what Learn All This has been up to. That's for sure. Try and get more news, combat recaps, stuff like that. Theoretically, assuming I don't get pulled away for more military action and so forth. Space War's not going to fight itself, but we are going to win it. The Empire will succeed. I say. I mean, we will. We're fighting many fronts, though. Various nations. Well, primarily the corrupts. Those traitors. But also various galactic factions. Yeah. Let's see. Well, other than mapping things, it's going to be, well, I suppose, yeah, other than solo stuff, world building, mapping, designing, statting, that kind of thing. What we can mostly, probably, and rambling expect on World Building Wednesday, as per usual. Um, I I love world building. Although, I mean, for World Building Wednesday, we've been doing a lot more rambling, but it's been a while, so it's a, you know. But basically, for making things, just little details, information on locations, factions, building the world out is always fun. And that is what we intend to do. That is what World Building Wednesday is for. Building the world out. Yes, I say. I mean, there's a lot of the world, so that's what theoretically lore videos were for, which we might get back to, lore videos in which we talk about the lore. However, that was trying to do big topics. Could also just do smaller lore bits, things that aren't relevant to the big topics. There's lots we can do. For instance, we could theoretically do an entire thing on the market of food in the galaxy. To talk about the leading company in making snacks and foods, Crunchy Bits. Crunchy Bits. They make good little crunchy food cubes, crunchy steak cubes, you know, other such things. Crunchy cereal squares. Yeah. And maybe for one of our news broadcasts, Crunchy Bits might be a sponsor. Yes. Wouldn't that be neat? Basil, sponsored by Crunchy Bits. Yes. Maybe not. Maybe not. Do I have enough imperial? What's the word I'm looking for? No, I don't think I'd do a cheap food thing. No, no. And I've decided I don't even want Omnicorp. Stupid Omnicorp. Not signing any contracts. Around here, we represent point combat templates. Point combat templates for all your combat needs. Want to buy a modular IFV? Point combat templates. Want to buy modular armor? Point combat templates. Yeah. They are the galaxy's, one of the galaxy's top 100 megacorps. Probably in the top 20. I'd have to double check. We're not currently, but they're not, they're not sponsoring this. But they did in the past some of the news broadcasts. So, even though, like, let's be technical. Yeah. I don't, Harvard wouldn't, they probably wouldn't like me say, well, no, they know. I mean, well, to be fair, think about this. Do they, well, I mean, it is a market, to be fair, but do they want Imperials? I mean, they did want me to say their product, but I mean, look, the galaxy views us Imperials as antagonistic and evil and the enemy. You have one, one galactic war. You have one galactic war in which you try to take over the galaxy and in which you destroy, you know, countless star systems. And nobody forgives you. You happen to be the most technologically advanced society in the galaxy, and you happen to say that none of the nations in the galaxy are legitimate and that they're all fake and you know that your nation's the only nation and everybody's a citizen of your nation or should be potentially in the future and that all other governments are illegal and apparently that's a bad thing apparently like like we're the villains for bombarding rebelling worlds, like we bring order to the galaxy. We bring order and peace to the galaxy. We prevent incident. We bring society and civilization and culture to the galaxy. And what do they say? They say we're evil. It's preposterous. And anyway, yes. So, point being, strange that point combat templates would want anything to do with us. Well, that's the thing they did, and thus they, you know, let's just say this. If any of my citizens want to buy something from Point Combat Templates, I wouldn't complain. I would let Point Combat Templates trade ships in. Although, I mean, to be fair, our military doesn't use anything but local Imperial produced goods. If you didn't know, the Empire, the Imperial Military Industrial Complex, is state run. Of course, there are external industries that produce Imperial military equipment that's not entirely, so it's not entirely state run if we're being technical. There are independent industries that make the goods, and on occasion we do buy from them, but usually they're selling to, I mean, they do sell to lords and so forth, but like it's a complex thing. Like a lot of it is produced by our own government, and a lot of it is produced by companies. However, companies are far less than government produced. Usually, if there's a war on, then yes, we'll buy from them. But everybody produces the same template of imperial goods and imperial equipment. I mean, there are different variants, but it's all rough, same template. Conscript armor is conscript armor. Heavy armor, well, I say conscript armor is conscript armor. There's like 5 different types of conscript armor. There's light powered armor, there's conscript armor, there's pilot armor, there's caster armor, etc., etc. But there's a set. They're designated. Yeah. Same with vehicles. We don't stray from the templates. Yes. But yeah, for any other military out there who's looking for equipment, Point Combat Templates. Check them out. They won't ask questions. No. Sell ya armaments. And that's a good thing. Sort of. Unless you're using those armaments against the Empire. In which case, stop it. Get some help. well, don't get some help. Just surrender. Well, unless it's one of the various Imperial Lords that. Imperial politics. You know, of course, well, we're all supposed to be on the same side, like we're all theoretically on the same side, but the rivalry between nobility, you know, you know, it's complicated. I seek the downfall of the lords which are not in high standing with me, and I seek the benefit of lords that are on my side. But that's just what is expected. Anyway, it appears you're probably having some technical issues, strangely enough. That's never ideal. Hopefully it's working. Don't know. As I said, it's been a while, and things are not maintained. Yes. So, let's see. Um, yeah. Theoretically, there are endless topics to dive into. It's just figuring out which topics are good. Well, right now is not really a time to delve into all the various topics, really. We're just rambling as we get back to things and get back to used to things. Not really the best time to talk about the, you know, not really the best time to talk about the space stocks of some random backwater world and how they will affect the subsector, which will affect the sector, like, but we could just bring this up and then bam, talking about stocks. We're talking about how the market for precious ores is up. It's always up. Well, it's not true. Sometimes down. But currently, at least, it's been up recently, given the well, prevalence of the war that's on. Ores and so forth have been in demand quite a lot. And I don't even mean the imperial conflict that I've been a part of. I mean, like, the galaxy is at war. The Second Galactic War is still going. The Systems Authority fighting the Council. However, the Systems Authority, for those of you who've been paying attention, have lost a lot of their allies quite a while back. But they're fighting on. But yes, it does mean that the demand for resources is still up. The costs are up. And thus the numbers go up. As for other industries, some numbers go down. Yeah. For instance, there is, shockingly, actually genuinely shockingly, there is, even within the empire, a lack of demand for neutron star material. Now, it's also somehow a lack of demand in the rest of the galaxy, which is shocking. I mean, it's not like we export, but the amount of people, I say people, I mean nations, factions, corporations, that can actually scrape neutron star material or generate neutron star material, neutronium, neutronite, whatever you want to call it. Very, very small percent. And yet, the demand is down. Number go down. Shocking. Yes. So, yeah, the galaxy is, in fact, well, still at war, still a dangerous place, still interesting. And there will be, in the future, much to ramble about. Because that's what we do. We ramble. Yes. Yeah. So, what else? Oh, yes. So, marking things down. That's something still trying to figure out. I could probably figure it out. Now, okay. If we're being technical, the issue isn't figuring out how to go about it. I could probably figure out how to go about marking these things easy. I even know how with a rough idea. The real issue, the genuine real issue, is I don't want to. I could make a key. I could make a very simple key. I say don't want to. What one must understand is the method I know on how to solve this whole roads and borders and all that involves a real annoying mix of layers. Map Tools layers. Don't get me wrong, Map Tools is amazing. As you've probably heard me ramble about before, Map Tools, I can't speak highly enough. Like, the complaint I am about to make is not about Map Tools. I mean, it's about partially, but it's not really about Map Tools. It's let me put it this way. I've used various virtual tabletops. I've used pens and paper, pencils and paper. Literally, sometimes dots on graph paper. I've used wargame tabletop things with full on, like terrain. I've used lots of stuff and various virtual tabletops. What I'm saying is something Map Tools does, in my opinion, better than many I've seen. But the issue is it doesn't do it perfectly, and that's layers. I have a limited amount of layers. They all stack on each other. Now, most other programs have even less layers, and it's hard to work with those layers. MapTools makes it far easier to work with those layers. Far easier, not perfect, but far easier. But still, working with those layers can be difficult. You have a drawing on one layer and another drawing on top of that layer. You have to delete the entire bottom drawing or so forth to get it to work, or if you have tokens layered on each other, it can get annoying and difficult. Now, the way I know to go about what I wish is to take a picture of map tools, export that picture to a picture program, picture editing program, art program, basically. Draw on that art picture, basically just to draw where things are. Remove the background picture or leave it, depends on the what we're trying to do. Then re-import it with the lines. So basically, what's a good example of that? We have a map that shows that. You probably have a map that shows that. Um, City overview. Here we are. Yeah, this will do. I mean, this one's not ideal. This one's less ideal than the previous one. Retrieval overview? Yes. Nope. Yep, it's good enough. So let's just suppose we have. We'll just draw again. It's fine. Really doesn't matter. Let's say we want to split this like so. How do we do this? So if we knew where we wanted these lines, it would be better example if I went like this. We're going overly complex, but you know, let's say we want this. Just use the square tool, just for the sake of making it easy. Let's say we want these separated like this, just because. Okay, so if we knew where we want the lines, we would export this picture, we'd take a screenshot, export. Let's say we don't want the background because we just want to drop it back on top. We'd export the image, draw the lines in the drawing program, remove the background, then re-import the lines, usually as a whole square, so we'd have to do it for the whole square, because it would get messy if it was a sub-square. Anyway, so we do it for the whole section, wherever the borders were, then we re-import it and overlay it over. Now, that works perfectly fine. We could have different layers for different things. It would work real well. We'd have different layers for different things. Problem, annoying to take a screenshot, export, draw, re-import. Slightly annoying. Not super annoying, slightly annoying. Second issue. Second issue. If we did that, we would have to import the image on a layer. Let's see. I have an example laying around somewhere. Um, why not? We'll use a circle. Okay, so we have a circle. Let's say the circle goes there. Why not? Circle goes there. Now, It's on the background layer. Let's say I want to select this building. Uh-oh, can't select the building because the circle's in front of it. Now, what can I do? Arrange, bring to front. Well, the circle's already in front. Send to back. Well, then the circle goes behind all of the objects. Not ideal. Because how am I going to get it back? Then I'm going to send all the objects to the back, and layers for a more complex map get issues when you do that. I say issues, it just gets complex to manage layers. Now, of course, the little layer manager, Draw Explorer, and Map Explorer, in which we can actually bring things to front and send things to the back using the Map Explorer. To be fair, not inaccurate. Still, just a bit annoying to work with. Just a bit. I say a bit. It's 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 like I said, far better than many other virtual tabletops or methods, but it's just something that I mean, if I am no artist other than writing, even though I wouldn't call myself an artist. But for even just the little pixel art I do for making tokens on occasion, I can tell you this, layers, and I'm sure more skilled artists can tell you, layers, layers are pain, layers are suffering. Yes, the same goes for map making. Like, layers are important, layers are good, but working with layers can be annoying. It's like a universal, there's no way around it. So, like, I mean, sure, are there ways map tools could make the layers a bit better? Probably. Are they going to hear this or listen to me? Probably not. I mean, who knows? It is open source and they are constantly working on updating it. And it is amazing. So who knows? Maybe someday they'll make the layers super easy to work with. But for now, it's a bit difficult to work with layers. Like I said, easier than many and every other VTT I've seen before. But, you know, better than all the others does not mean perfect. Although, comparatively, MapTools is, in my opinion, perfect. Yes, well, better than everything else. So, yeah. Um, Point being, yeah, figuring out how to do it, export it, draw a thing, and then import it it can solve issues, but it's a lot of work to do and a bit of things to manage. I suppose if I actually named the objects actual things, then maybe it would be crazily enough. Like if I labeled the layers accurately, I say labeled the layers, I mean the objects on the layers. You can name the objects on the layers, but the amount of layers we get, let's see. Token, hidden, object, and background. Those are the layers. Hidden, we can't use. I mean, we can use, but hidden when making a map for players, we can't use. Because we can use it to hide things from players. But that's the thing. You can't really use it as a layer for additional map making because, well, they can't see it, you know? So, not ideal for visual things that you want the players to see, which means we're limited to token, object, and background. Now, we can't have too many tokens. I mean, we can have infinite tokens in map tools as far as I know. Like, you can place down infinite of any of these things. Map tools, as far as I've seen, let's put it this way. I think I've said before, I made a one to one scale map of a planet. And by 1-to-1, I mean I made 5 foot square planet sized, or I've made light years galaxy sized. Point being, map tools didn't care about the scale. It didn't. It just let me make the scale as big as I want. And for that, another thing that map tools is amazing for. um, I've placed hundreds of tokens on a map before. Like, map tools doesn't care. It's amazing. Um, but point being, um, the layers, you don't want to put too many things on the token layer in one place for like map making. Why? Because tokens overlap, then it gets hard to grab the tokens behind each other. So tokens are best used for characters and things in the world that are separate, not objects, probably, usually, not like chairs or desks. Maybe cars, yes, cars can be tokens. Vehicles, starships, depends on whether you're making a starship map or starship engagement. So, things like that, good for tokens. But that means we can't really use it for map making. Because if you have it as a map object, you want your players on top of the map, they're going to accidentally click the object. Even if they can't click it, you're going to accidentally, it causes issues. So what does that leave us? Object layer and background layer. We've gone from 4 layers down to 2 that we can work with. Now, from there, things will still overlap and get messy because we only have 2 layers to work with. There's also drawing layers, which have the same token, object, token, hidden, object, and background, which we can use for drawings, but not for little tokens. But so basically, and they overlap. So if you place, if I remember correctly, if you draw an object drawing over a background token, a background, I say token, but like if you place here, we'll just show you. This building is on the background layer. This drawing is on the object layer. It is in front. Yes. Now, this drawing is on the background layer. It is behind. So there's a hierarchy of drawings of how they go. Drawings of the same layer usually go behind tokens of the same layer, that kind of thing. But it still means we have a limited amount of layers to work with, which makes doing some things difficult. Yes, that's basically my entire point. Unless there's something I'm missing, but I don't think there is. Anyway, yeah. So I know how to make what I want. It's just quite a bit of effort and difficult to do nicely. Yeah, but I should probably just make a key and do it, you know? The hard part is also, so the other hard part is if I want to use the background to make a map, like, let's put it this way. There's the thing, I can just actively show this one. World hex. Okay, this is an image. It is an image dropped into map tools. Now, theoretically, I have this image file outside of map tools. I do. It's something I work with. I could draw on an exterior program and then import it. And then this image would have things on top of it. Of course, I'd make a different copy of it because having the base is important. Anyway, so, could I have a version of this with stuff on it? That reduces the amount of tokens you have to deal with. However, if you wanted to, say, remove a section, you'd have to de-export it, remove, re-import it. It's doable. It's doable. I mean, it's not a lot. It's not a problem per se. It's just it's a bit of work. It's a bit of work. And the main thing. So I like. Eh, it's just it's it's just preference in working in things makes it so for me it's a bit of annoying work to do to export an image, draw over it, import it. And if I want to place like things on it, I'd have to figure out what the scales are and all that. Yeah, stuff like that. For instance, here's an easy example. So here, if we go over to here and we grab this, place it here, I have this set up so it's perfectly to scale. They are not perfectly to scale in the drawing program because this image is far smaller than this image. Luckily, Map Tools just auto scales them to a certain scale depending on certain factors. Now, so in order to get it to be accurate in the outside program, it would take a lot of work. I mean, one could just say, forget the absolute accuracy, close enough. But like try to figure out, so something's all smaller and so forth, and trying to figure out that scale-wise. Like, at least in Map Tools, it keeps the accuracy. If I were to scale something in a drawing program, you would lose, it would degrade. Because, like, how do I put it this way? That's one amazing thing about Map Tools. The accuracy of the object remains. In a drawing program, if I had this, and I tried to scale it down, it would degrade in its image quality because there's less pixels to work with, etc., etc. Point being, like, just a lot of small things that annoy me when doing this kind of thing between the two. Like I said, personally, I prefer map tools for doing that, honestly. Like, for making maps like that, I prefer map tools. But for making lines using the layers, I prefer the exterior program, and combining the two is annoying. I mean, one can draw in map tools, but still, it's the limited layers. So, yeah. Although, to be fair, if I was smart, you can't group objects, but you can group drawings. So you could group drawings and move drawings between invisible and non. However, however, I have found, I should probably actually, how do I put this? Sometimes, at least when importing old files, there are ghost drawings. Like, there will be a drawing listed, and if you click it, it crashes map tools. It doesn't happen with every drawing, and I find it only happens to me in primarily this type of map. This type of map, I say, it's it's a map without a grid. It primarily happens in gridless maps, I find. But anyway, point being, like, so that worries me. Ghost drawings, accidentally clicking one and just crashing everything. Um, but for the most part, like, it is an option. But yeah, like, just various factors like that. Yeah. So yeah, I prefer the actual map making in map tools, but the overlays in an exterior program, I just wish map tools had more layers to work with, or easier ways to work with them, or didn't crash sometimes with ghost drawings. I know map tools isn't an art program. Technically, it's not an art program, but the lack of layers hurts. Yeah. Um, let's see. Well, I mean, We've rambled about that. That's for sure. Successful ramble complete. Um, so yeah, I should probably just bite the bullet and do that. Yeah. Um, just due to scaling and how grids work, map tools is just so much easier to work with than exterior programs. Also, yeah, like the scaling and grids just makes it so much easier to work with than an art program, but the layers make it so much harder to work with. That's basically my entire point. Yeah. Um, what else? I've rambled about things we intend to theoretically do. I've rambled about designs a little bit, maps. Yeah, no. I think I think we'll probably call it there. I mean, I can't think of anything else really to ramble about. And we've probably, at least as far as I can see, have technical issues. So that's enough rambling for now. As always, I have been your host, Casimir Basilius, and I hope that you, yes, you, have a wonderful day. Thank you for stopping by.